Good morning, Mr. Phelps. The podcast you are listening to features spoilers for the 1996 movie Mission Impossible. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to watch the movie before you listen to the podcast. As always, should you listen to the episode without having seen the film and then come bitching to us, the panel of peril will disavow any knowledge of these spoilers. This tape will self-destruct in 5 seconds. This is Diabolical, the show where four long-suffering friends dissect film's most dastardly schemes, then compete to improve them. I'm your host, Craig the Super Dude, and this week's movie is 1996's inaugural big screen outing for the juggernaut franchise Mission Impossible. So, Peril Pals, roleplay as Emmanuelle Beart's husband, steer your chopper down the old channel, and let's get diabolical. Welcome to Season 6. As host for this week, I'm the secretary of the Panel of Peril, the other members of which will compete against me at the close of the show in a bid to get our hands on the knock list, as we each try to come up with the best alternative plan for the movie villain of the week, before we vote to name this week's most diabolical. As ever, I'm joined by 3 rogue IMF agents. Please introduce yourselves and tell me, what is the most shocking betrayal you've ever encountered in fiction? And let's start with Ben.
Hi, everyone. Ben here. The betrayal that I recall audibly gasping at, was when I was about 7 or 8. I was reading The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe for the first time. And when Edmund betrayed his brothers and sisters, I remember going, "What?"
For some fucking Turkish delight as well. The dirty little bastard.
Mama!
Yeah, that was a real shocker, that one. It's always stayed in my mind.
Yeah, same. I thought, though, that you would go for Jack Panning on Hook, betraying his father for Captain Hook.
Oh, that is a good one. Perhaps if I'd have remembered it.
I think over the course of this podcast, I've massively overestimated your obsession with the film Hook.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I think about it literally every week. When's Hook going to come out?
I was going to tie Hook into this one.
Okay, let's hear next from Adam, please.
Good day, Peril Pals. It's Agent Adam here. I had to think quite long and hard about this one. Long and hard. But the one that I rewatch it still, and I still find it a massive, massive gut punch, is Game of Thrones, The Red Wedding, when Catelyn Stark pulls back the tunic of Roose Bolton and there's a chainmail and slaps him, and everything's going so well for the young wolf. Everything's on the up and up. And then all of a sudden you realise, nah.
Yeah. And Gaz.
Hello, this is Gaz, and I was going to proffer at the Red Wedding as my most shocking betrayal. However, after a quick rifle through the file of facts in my brain, I'm not going to completely spoil it, but the ending of Ben Wheatley's film Kill List is a pretty shocking betrayal and conclusion, wherein Michael Smiley, who you may remember as Tyres from Spaced, isn't quite who he purports to be to his best friend, played by Neil Maskell. It's a very good film, well worth watching.
I haven't seen it, and I'm going to have to rectify that. Well, as for me, the most shocking betrayal I've ever encountered in fiction is the assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford, which seemed to come out of nowhere. I went into that film, I don't know what I was expecting, but no, really, it's Prince Hans in Frozen. What a bastard.
I thought you were going to say Lando.
Because I kind of knew about it when I was too young to think about it, it's never hit me.
Right.
It's like some people would say Anakin Skywalker, but how can that be shocking? You knew that was coming.
The betrayal is lessened later because he's strong-armed into it, isn't he? And then he
right.
does, and not long after he redeems himself, doesn't he? So
he redeems himself pretty quickly. I think I had seen Return of the Jedi before I saw Empire Strikes Back as well.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what you nerds are talking about. No idea.
It's the Star Wars movie. Have you heard of the Star Wars movie?
Well, once or twice before.
Here, Gaz, here's $10. Go watch a Star Wars.
Now, as it's the first episode of a brand new season, I felt like now would be a good time to introduce a new icebreaker, which I'm calling Alias, Myth and Jones, or No Official Cover? Oh, that's a typo. No, official cover. This is not mission difficult, gentlemen. Should be a walk in the park for you. I'll give you 3 cover names of IMF agents, 2 of which are in the movie. The other I have made up to deceive you. Number 1. Emilio Estevez's Jack Harmon goes by the alias Jack Beretta, as seen on Jim Phelps' mission briefing. Number 2. Tom Cruise's Ethan Hunt goes by the alias Maverick, as seen on the knock list. And number 3. Tom Cruise's Ethan Hunt goes by the alias Philippe Duchette, as seen on Jim Phelps' mission briefing. Which one of those did I make up? And which ones did, I don't know, David Kep or someone make up? Or probably a production assistant, someone like that.
So, just to clarify, Super Dude, they're all false.
That's right.
And we've got to make up a true one.
That's correct.
Okay.
I'm saying the Maverick is the fakey.
Maverick because it's going with number 2, Maverick. Anyone going for anything different?
Ben's going for 3 because Duchette is a bidet, isn't it? Isn't it like an arse shower?
Might be. It might be. So we've got 1 for 2.
Brian De Palma would love that, though. Come on.
Oh, he is a bit of a filthmonger, isn't he?
Oh, he loves a clean arse, though.
Yeah, I'll go for 1 to complete the set. There we go, 1, 2, 3.
I love it when that happens. Well, I can tell you that Gaz is correct. Maverick is an IMF code name on the knock list in the film, but it's not Ethan Hunt's.
Oh.
But it is obviously a nod to Top Gun, and one of the other knock list code names is Flyboy.
That's a nod to Jeff Goldblum's The Fly.
I think somebody on the production team fucked up the knock list because it's got names on it like Jim Phillips, which I think was probably meant to be Jim Phelps, and they misheard it.
Very cunning cover name.
Yeah.
Jim Phelps, you be Jim Phillips.
No, I mean, Jim Phillips is the real name, and the code name is Top Hat for Jim Phillips. Right. And I think it's meant to be Jim Phelps' code name. Top Hat is what you would call Jon Voight, for sure, if you were giving him a code name.
There's Top Hat, car, little dog,
yeah,
shoe.
Time now to delve into this week's film, Mission Impossible. After years in development hell, drafting a viable screenplay treatment for a big screen spin-off of the popular television series was starting to seem like Mission Impossible for rights holders Paramount Pictures, until burgeoning megastar Tom Cruise and his producing partner Paula Wagner earmarked the project as the perfect property for their first foray as a newly formed film company. Initially working on a story with Sidney Pollack and serial George Lucas writers Willard Huyck and Gloria Katz, an encounter with Brian De Palma on a visit to Steven Spielberg's house led Cruise to eye the notorious director to helm the show. De Palma brought in Carlito's Way collaborator and wildly successful Jurassic Park screenwriter David Koepp to work on the screenplay, along with the BAFTA, Oscar and Golden Globe winning writer of Schindler's List, Steve Zaillian. Despite this, Cruise remained unhappy with the emotional content of the script and brought on Chinatown scribe Robert Towne, with whom he'd previously worked on Days of Thunder and The Firm. With an incomplete script, shooting went ahead, with a series of set pieces devised by De Palma providing some sense of structure, despite some of these being ditched after set construction had begun. Rumours of on-set tensions were openly admitted but also downplayed by Cruise and De Palma, but included a disagreement over the denouement, as Towne's preferred ending versus the climactic helicopter tunnel chase was a relatively low-key mask reveal inside a boxcar. Instead of pushing the argument, De Palma claimed he loved the idea of ending an action movie with a quiet, dull scene, and left the ball in Cruise's court, who later, of course, conceded the point. The lack of a finished script had an impact on the film's marketing, which portrayed a passionate affair between Cruise's Ethan Hunt and his boss's wife Claire, played by Manon de Sceaux star Emmanuelle Beart, which was deleted from the finished film, partly in response to a suggestion from George Lucas that the scene establishing the love triangle did nothing to set up the ensuing action. Mission Impossible divided critics and audiences, particularly fans of the TV series, who were unhappy with the story's treatment of longtime IMF leader Jim Phelps, played in the film by the legendary but problematic Jon Voight as the villain. This feeling was shared by members of the series cast, including role in hand actor Martin Lando, who had been invited to reprise their roles in the film, only to be killed off during its opening heist to make way for Cruise to take the lead. However, it was box office dynamite and lit the fuse of a beloved action franchise that continues to wow audiences to this day by dangling its irreplaceable star above ever-increasingly larger pools of sharks. As a huge fan of the franchise in general, I have a particular reverence for this first outing, with all its De Palma trappings, unforgettable dialogue, iconic franchise-defining set pieces, and its emphasis on chills and thrills above the standard spray of bullets. But what did the panel of peril make of it? Let's start, please, with Ben.
Well, I've never paid the Mission Impossible films much mind. And at the time, I think this one just passed me by. Though, on this watch through, parts of it felt familiar. And then the second one was so Limp Bizkit saturated.
Yeah.
That I avoided it lest I be tainted by the vile stench of nu metal.
How dare you?
Wash your mouth out.
Also, all the creepy shit around Tom Cruise gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Sure.
So all that is to say that given those quite ingrained prejudices, the film had a lot of work to do to win me over. But win me over, it did.
Lovely.
I thought the pairing of a spy action thriller with Brian De Palma's visual style and kind of mastery of suspense and tension was a really perfect fit. He elevates this film. I imagine with the script in such a state as you just described.
Yeah.
In lesser hands, it could have been very, very messy.
There's a ton of experience on the screen, you can see.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think it's an excellent piece of storytelling. And the stunts add a real sense of stakes and danger that you feel in the pit of your stomach.
The sequels have increased the spectacle of the stunts, but
You're saying they've upped the ante?
they have upped the ante. But I don't think they've ever really topped the stunts for sheer class and like memorability as the fish tank explosion and the drop into the Langley office. They're both so great.
Yeah, they're iconic, aren't they? Well, especially the drop. I still don't care much for Cruise and his shit-eating grin, but there's plenty in this film to enjoy.
Yeah.
So I give it, if finding a Tom Cruise spy movie that you'll actually enjoy sounds like Mission Impossible, then give this a whirl. If you choose to accept it, it might just surprise you.
And that's out of?
And that's out of 5.
That's a 5. Excellent. Next, let's hear from Adam.
As you said about the franchise that this created and the sort of furore that it caused amongst diehard Mission Impossible fans and things at the time, the Mission Impossible series was on when we were kids, wasn't it?
It was on BBC Two or Channel 4 maybe, yeah.
Regularly, wasn't it? And I remember watching it. Yeah, and then when this film came out, I was like, well, it's not really like the series. And then Jim Phelps as a baddie, I was like, what's going on? But however, this movie and the subsequent movies have transcended that original series anyway and become its own beast, separate to that, which it totally deserves. And in the first, I can't remember how long, but anyway, it just grips you straight away from the start. Just by looking at Tom Cruise and the way he is, and he's just having so much fun. And he's so serious at some points, but you can still tell he's so into it.
I remember, I think even at the time, hearing that he had really wanted to do something like James Bond-like and to become like an action star. And
yeah, that's the whole thing. I think he's doing that and he's thinking, I'm going to be this new franchise Bond, this American James Bond, Ethan Hunt. And he is doing it and he does it. And I was straight away in the first half an hour, I was thinking, this pisses all over all the Bonds at that time in the 90s, really.
Yeah.
It's fabulous. And then Brian De Palma brings his own fairy dust to it. There's some really great bits I'm sure we'll pick out in the sequences in a little while. in retrospect, looking back at it now, it was quite paid a lot of homage to the original series. Over time, like with lots of things, it's got better.
I completely agree. I remember at the time, same as you, I was into the TV series, loved Martin Landau, loved Leonard Nimoy, Peter Graves, and thinking this film isn't the show that I like, but the passage of time, it actually does have a lot of elements that made the show work.
Totally. It's really good, but it's one of those things that has matured as the film's matured.
Yeah.
The only thing I didn't like about this film, and I couldn't remember what it was. As I was watching it, I was thinking, I'm pretty sure I didn't like this film for some reason. And then it got to the train scene. And then when the helicopter goes into the tunnel, I was like, that's it.
Yeah.
That's why.
Is it when you saw David Schneider pop up as the driver? Smell
Yeah.
my cheese, you
Yes.
mother.
Yeah. This is cheese. I've got cheese. I thought it was like the Die Another Day surfing bit for this movie.
Get the fuck out of here. It's nowhere near that bad.
It is fucking that bad.
It's not a well composited effect, but it's not as bad as Die Another Day.
It's brilliant in a way, but then
It's better in concept than Die Another Day. See, the thing about putting explosive gum on a helicopter and blowing it up and flying onto a train, and then the helicopter that's on fire crushes Jon Voight into the track is a better concept than Pierce Brosnan surfing. I mean, you'll never convince me otherwise.
it's the fact that there's a helicopter flying in a tunnel.
It's great.
It's like,
The
God.
real tunnel doesn't even, it wouldn't work because it's an electric train, because it's got overhead cables. But
It's fucking mad.
that's where you got to love the Palma. It was just like so.
It's weird because you already, obviously, in a film like this, you suspend your disbelief anyway and stuff like that. But you have to re-suspend your disbelief, which kind of unsettles you and not in a good way.
I see what you're saying.
I don't.
It doesn't feel entirely within the verisimilitude of the world it created up to that point. And
Exactly,
I
yeah.
can appreciate what you're saying, but I don't care because I love it.
I know. At the end of it, I was like, you know what? I did really enjoy watching it again. And contrary to Ben's opinion on Tom Cruise, I actually loved watching him enjoying himself, and that being the launch pad for this new franchise and the stuff that's come after it.
And a launch pad for his career. I'm a huge Tom Cruise fan, both as a producer and as a performer. I think he's unfairly maligned, and I would even go so far as to call him underrated as an actor. People are often saying that he can't act and that Ethan Hunt's like a two-dimensional character, but I don't agree.
No, I would say, anyway, who wants like all the awards and fucking no career, or do you want like some of the biggest massive films under your belt?
Yeah, but then you got to look at stuff like Magnolia, Born on the 4th of July, and realise that actually this guy is a serious actor. Even like War of the Worlds, which everyone was expecting to be like another popcorn thing, is him playing like a deadbeat dad, and so well.
Yep, I love that too, yeah.
Well, he's got experience there, hasn't he?
He's no Brad Pitt, but he's certainly estranged from some of his children, let's put it that way. Anyway, let's turn now to our Joint Chief Resident De Palma fanboy. It's Kaz.
It's great. It's great. It's my joint favourite Mission Impossible film with Fallout. Never watched the TV show. I'm not particularly inclined to at this point in my life, to be honest. But I think...
The moment's passed.
Yeah.
In the 1960s.
The reruns in the 90s were absolutely fine. All 60 TV that was on in the 90s felt perfect. Because you had Reeves and Mortimer doing Randall and Hopkirk Deceased, and then you could watch Randall and Hopkirk Deceased from the 60s at like 6 p.m. And I was happy as Larry. But now, it wouldn't work.
The thing that I like about this film and the best, not necessarily the best films, but the most notable films in the franchise is it's very much an auteur
A turd?
piece of work. You can tell it's a Brian De Palma film.
Yeah, completely.
There's striking split diopter shots, which are very reminiscent of Blowout in particular. There's a striking femme fatale character in Claire. Plot twists. I'd say in terms of his films, the film that it most closely resembles in terms of its propulsive nature and how it's trying to be a crowd pleaser for me is The Untouchables.
Yeah. I thought for a second there you were going to compare it to Femme Fatale.
No. Femme Fatale is very good, though. It's really
It is very good. Yeah. I haven't seen a Brian De Palma film that I didn't like, and I think I've seen all of them now, so there we go.
Yeah, and it was very consciously an attempt by Brian De Palma to have a massive hit film because he'd had some difficulty with Raising Cain, and I think Carlito's Way didn't do too well either at the box office.
Yeah, crazy because it's incredible.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah, so really, really great. Yeah, I watched the Mission Impossible section of the film De Palma again after this, and
yeah, the Noah Baumbach film.
Yeah, you can tell that him and Tom Cruise didn't get on particularly well from the way he talks about it.
He invited him back to do Mission 2, though, and he declined.
Yeah, but yeah, and Robert Town, clearly Brian De Palma can't stand him.
No. It's weird because Chinatown is fantastic, obviously, but I think maybe Robert Town, he's cut from a different cloth, and this wasn't his arena, wasn't his wheelhouse.
No, that's De Palma's strength. He's able to adapt when he needs to. He's a jack of all trades, master of all. And Robert Town, I think, is a kind of plot man and a wordsmith.
Yeah.
Whereas De Palma is able to bring that crowd pleasing aspect to it.
Do you hear the story about they got the guy who directed the most episodes of the TV series in to come and consult on the set, and De Palma introduced himself to him very amiably and said, you're very welcome on the set. I just want to be like upfront and say that we're not going to get on and you're wasting your time here. And this guy never came back.
All I remember for the TV show is a guy hiding under a table and putting a mirror in front of him so he could not be seen.
Yeah, that worked.
Yeah.
Like a Cybertruck. That's what it'd be now. He'd park a Cybertruck in front of himself.
You get an international cast on this one. I think there was a concerted effort to make this feel international. So they filmed in Prague. Obviously, some of that was sets in Pinewood, but there was a lot of Prague real exteriors as well, which I think wasn't used a lot in film at the time. And then you've got Jean Reno, you've got Emmanuelle Beart, of course, you got Kristin Scott Thomas, Emilio Estevez, who is Mexican.
Why did you say that like it was a bomb?
Because I thought it would be funny.
Boom, baby.
Let's go around the board now for our favourite moments, and I'd like to hear first from Adam, please.
For its Dutch angles and things like that, it's the cafe confrontation with Kittridge, and it's just fantastic. I thought it was like eerily reminiscent of the series in many ways, that little scene as well, some of the close-up shots and the Dutch angles on it and stuff. And I was just like, that's one of the reasons I thought, looking back, it is, respectful to the series. I really love that bit. I just think it's a great sequence.
Very Hitchcockian. Incredible build of tension and then an unbelievable release. The ultimate release.
It's brilliant, yeah.
Okay, Gaz, your favourite moment?
Well, I'm going to take it since Czerny didn't. I'm having the Langley silent sequence, deactivating the lasers, which is very simple, as it turns out. Just slip a bit of mirror in there, lower Tom Cruise down with his soundometer and his face camera. Just the fact that there's no noise in it is amazing. Not even a slight thrum of score. The drip of sweat coming down his face particularly is brilliant. And it's slightly undercranked into slow motion, him moving his hand out and the drop landing on it. Gives it kind of not a dreamy quality, just slightly otherworldly. And yeah, the fact that the guy comes back into the room briefly and after yanking him up really quickly, and the rat going after Jean Reno. It's all these wonderful little moments.
Yeah.
Not even necessarily escalating the tension. It's
maintaining it, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's constant.
It's not even necessarily high tension because the pace of it is so needfully slow. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Just the intricacy of it.
Amusing set as well. The most literal spiderweb we've seen since we did Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
I think my favourite bit in it is when they drop him and his arms and legs are like flailing about because he doesn't want to fall anymore. Apparently he hit his face on the floor a few times doing that.
He'd hit his nose first. And then his face about 4 seconds later.
I'd have hit my dick first, 4 feet before my face.
Sadly, I'd have hit my forehead, just smacked the bastard.
Sorry, I forgot to turn my the extension lead to powering my laptop, and I just looked at the battery thing and it was going down. I thought, oh, this lasted like an hour. So
Wow, that is the least interesting thing you've said so far. And there's quite a lot of competition.
yeah, from you.
Zing.
Well, on cue, it's time to hear Ben's favourite moment from Mission Impossible.
Well, obviously the main ones have been taken. I really loved Ving Rhames' eyebrow acting on the train.
Yeah.
Really fantastic eyebrow acting.
Yeah.
Like some of the best eyebrow acting I think I've seen for a while.
I can't believe he lost out at the Oscars that year for that.
I know. That should be its own category, that.
To be fair to him, coming off the back of like Pulp Fiction, what an indelible mark he's made. He's been in every subsequent Mission Impossible movie.
I think he's great, honestly. Not jibing him. I think he's great.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
One of my favourite parts, I just think highlights why this film works really well, is when Ethan's in Prague and he's trying to hack into Job's account on the computer.
Yeah.
It feels really real. It doesn't feel like the usual, blah, 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 oh, I'm in. It's a concerted effort. You see failures, you see frustration.
Yeah.
That's why this film works well. There's real truth to every part of it and genuine tension, which is what I think Brian De Palma brings to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was a really good example.
He's also a genuine computer expert, Brian De Palma, so he would have known what it would take to hack for real. A character in another one of his great films, Dressed to Kill, is a computer expert, which is based upon him.
Yeah, that makes sense because you really buy that. And usually it's you have to let it go because it's so poor in most films. You're like, whatever, okay. No, this really worked well. You didn't feel cheap or unearned.
I would say my favourite sequence is the one where Ethan has put the pieces together. He's realised that the returning Jim Phelps was the one who betrayed the IMF team. And as he's describing the events of the night, and Phelps is telling him his clearly untrue version of events, you see into Ethan's thought process and you see what actually happened and he's worked out. I love that sequence. I think it's really good. Really well put together.
Yeah, it's clever, isn't it?
And we'll move on then to favourite lines. And this time, let's start with Gaz.
I've literally just got the sound check before he gets dropped. 1, 2, 3, toast. Toast! It's just...
Listeners will not know this, but the panel of peril will know that I have started every episode that we've recorded by doing that toast sound check on you.
Now I know where it comes from.
That's where it comes from. And Ben, your favourite line?
My favourite line comes in the opening heist in the embassy, is it, in Prague? Emilio Estevez is working to do whatever he's doing. And Tom Cruise wonders out loud why it's taking so long. And Emilio Estevez comes back with, relax your crack, foghorn. I'm working on it.
Yeah. Cruise is playing the southern senator who's got the ridiculously over-the-top foghorn leghorn accent.
Exactly. It's amazing.
I knew you'd like that one. Relax your crack. Okay, Adam, your favourite line?
It's where they're talking to Ving Rhames' character, Luther, and they're saying about what he got disavowed for. And he said, there was never any physical evidence I had anything to do with that exceptional piece of work. And this little wry smile afterwards. It's quite nice.
Yeah, it's nice. There are a few that I could go for, but if I'm honest, my favourite line has always been, Kittridge, you've never seen me very upset. It's just so loaded and such a great statement of intent for what follows.
What happens if they don't choose to accept the mission?
It'll never come up.
Okay.
That'd be great though, wouldn't it? Just be like,
I'd rather not.
No.
stewardess, I don't want to listen to this tape anymore.
No.
Thank you.
Can I have a glass of champagne instead?
Before we get to the competition round, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to leave us a written review on Apple Podcasts. Every time we get one, we get a huge spike in new listeners, and that helps us find our audience, and our audience find us. This recording won't self-destruct if you don't, but we'd appreciate it all the same. In Mission Impossible, Ethan Hunt becomes the seemingly sole survivor and prime suspect of a botched mission to recover the stolen knock list of undercover agents' secret aliases, after his IMF team is betrayed and killed during a mole hunt. Following a debrief with sinister and ruthless IMF director Eugene Kittridge, who reveals the knock list to be a decoy, and a reunion with his boss's wife and de facto love interest Claire Phelps, Hunt begins to investigate why the mission went south. He finds evidence that the mole, using the online alias Job, was looking to sell the knock list, and concludes that in order to clear his name and bring the real villain to justice, he will need to successfully pull off the heist his team believed they were previously foiling and steal the real knock list. Once he has the list in his possession, Hunt sets up a sting operation to figuratively unmask Job and literally unmask himself, having been covertly approached by his presumed dead boss Jim Phelps, whose clumsy attempt to spin a yarn about the events of the fateful night they parted only served to implicate himself and Claire, as well as her disreputable and disavowed colleague Krieger, in the deaths of their IMF team. Disguising himself as Phelps in order to trick Claire into revealing the depths of her complicity, Hunt reveals the truth to Kittridge and kills Krieger and Phelps in a climactic showdown that utilizes a callback to one of their deceased teammates. Ultimately, Phelps' plan to betray his IMF team and expose all undercover assets for a huge payday was scuppered because he underestimated Hunt's IMF team and placed too much faith in his own accomplices. But how did the panel of peril rate Phelps' diabolical scheme? Let's start with Ben.
I think it's very diabolical.
It's very diabolical.
To do that to the team you're working with for so long, just sell them down the river.
Yeah, but they were complaining about your wife's coffee, so fuck them.
Yeah. Well, that puts a whole new spin on it. I mean, it would be like me having you all murdered so I could go onto a different podcast.
Yeah, no need. If you want to, just do it.
Just do it, yeah.
Just tell us.
Just be honest.
If you were honest with yourself, you'd be murdering us for fun. It'd be just a...
Let's see you try all the way from Japan.
Guys, you think those cushions that I sent you, the Jeff Goldblum cushions, were merely cushions? Anthrax, my friend. Anthrax. Yeah, I thought it was very diabolical. It's very intricate, very well planned and thought out, right down to the fact that Phelps knows the view that the camera will give Ethan. And so the bloody hands. Yeah, it's very, very diabolical. Doesn't quite work, so he's not going to be a record breaker, but he's going to be up there. He's getting 13 florets of prosthetic broccoli.
Wow.
Ooh.
Tell you, speaking of the
Film?
the preciseness of the setup of his plan, I find it really weird rewatching the film that you can really clearly tell that he's pointing the gun at himself.
Yeah.
But when I watched it the first time, I couldn't see that at all.
I didn't catch that, no.
His hand is pointing towards himself, and it's really obvious that it's not another person pointing a gun at him.
Mm-hmm.
But the first time I saw it, I didn't see that at all. Only on rewatches have I ever picked that up. Really well pulled off. De Palma must have known that people watching it kind of passively wouldn't see that at first, and that they would be able to pick up on it when they knew what was coming.
De Palma knows, as the old saying goes, with him like winking. De Palma knows.
Yeah. Adam, you got anything else to say about the diabolical plot?
We don't feel you need to.
If he wasn't such a Bible basher, we'd have got away with it, wouldn't he? Really?
Keep the Christians, as ever, hoist by their own petard.
Exactly.
Anything to add to that, Gaz?
Not really, no.
This is the part of the show where the panel of peril compete for the title of Season 6's Most Diabolical. It's a clean slate, gentlemen. And up for grabs is 1 point for each vote, which will go towards the series leaderboard. I feel like I want to start incorporating some of the iconic lines, like, "You cannot vote for yourselves, you saucy babies."
No, Gaz has trademarked that.
Can if you want them. Don't bother me. Did I ever tell you where Saucy Babies comes from, by the way? I keep on meaning to ask.
I don't know. I think you did.
Origin story.
Yeah, but?
Origin story.
Yeah. It's something Izzy said when she was about 5 or 6. She had a thing about like perfectly formed wedges. And she picked one up one time and she was like, "Oh, look at this saucy baby." And we've never stopped saying it as a family ever since.
That's brilliant.
Now that you told me the origin story, I know what I'm going to say. I'm going to say, and do remember, you cannot vote for yourselves, you smooth boys.
That's a bit creepy.
Because Ava likes to call perfectly smooth mashed potato a smooth boy.
Huh. It's a bit creepy compared to saucy babies, though, isn't it? You know what I mean? Ooh, you smooth boys. Oof.
Well, you want creepy? Millie had some imaginary friends. She had the Marshmallow Brothers. She had Petiti Toes. But the weirdest of them all was Finger Job. I just didn't comment.
I want to hear that next week.
You've got to incorporate that.
You cannot vote for yourselves, finger job.
Finger jobbers.
Phelps tried to swipe the knock list and frame Hunt for the murders of his IMF team, and when that went south, he got his wife to use her feminine wiles to set up Hunt with a dodgy French accomplice to steal the knock list for him. But what would you have done differently? I'm going to start with Ben.
Scene. A dimly lit warehouse complete with blueprints, surveillance photos pinned to the walls, and some strings linking it all together. Jim Phelps is with his team of disavowed agents. All right, listen up. We're hitting Langley. Our target? The knock list. Here's how we're going to do it. Phelps pulls down a large blueprint of the CIA headquarters. He points to the lobby with an obese, tobacco-stained finger. This is our entry point. We're going in as an art delivery crew. Our star attraction? A bronze statue of Rear Admiral Sidney W. Sowers, former CIA director, and our ticket inside. I'll be the statue. Dildo Dave, recruited for his expertise in plaster of Paris, disavowed for lying to his mum. You're gonna be the statue? Phelps. Exactly. A living statue. Bronze, like those excellent artistically relevant street performers. You wheel me in, set me up in the lobby, then disappear. Phelps points to the blueprint with the tip of his winky, showing the internal corridors of Langley. Once inside, I wait until nightfall. Langley's security isn't lax, but they're not expecting a statue to come to life. I'll shuffle down these corridors inch by inch. Get it? He points to his winky and grins. If anyone comes by, I freeze. Just another bronze statue. Once I reach the air duct, I'll crawl through, navigate my way to the secure room where they keep the knock list. I use a mirrory thing to negate the lasers, then I'll use my modified windswept umbrella to lower myself into the room. I get the knock list, then retract the fuck back up. Then it's back through the ducts, down the corridors, and I resume my position in the lobby by morning. You guys come back, collect the statue, and we're out. Mary Snatch, recruited for her expertise in whittling a small spoon from a bigger spoon, disavowed for always leaving the ruddy toilet seat up. And what about framing someone? Phelps, no need. When the knock list goes missing, everyone will definitely believe it was the ghost of Rear Admiral Sowers, who was a CIA legend and an all-round stand-up guy. Questions? I didn't think so.
Have you appropriated my plan from Speed 2?
Yeah, I was going to say.
What?
Fucking my plan from Speed 2, you twat.
Oh, was it?
I'll see you in court.
I had no idea that was your plan. I don't listen to any other plans.
Geiger was made out of copper, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Because he had a copper disease. And then he turned himself fully copper.
He's just a living statue.
And he was in a statue, and he was put as a statue in the fucking building.
Yeah, but you said he turned himself into fully copper. That's absolutely nothing like it. Mental. Yours is in the realms of fantasy.
The first thing I wrote down when you said statue is, wait, haven't we already had this plan?
I just put, it's my plan.
It's not your plan. Your plan was absolutely far-fetched. Mental.
I think you find it is, sir. I think you find it is.
So, does this happen just straight away and he doesn't kill off Emilio Estevez and those guys?
I guess it's when he's talking to the disavowed agents.
Okay.
Because he has a disavowed team, doesn't he? Like, which is what Jean Reno's part of, right?
Right. So he has already killed.
Yeah, he just doesn't use Ethan Hunt because Ethan Hunt's a cunt.
But Ethan is going to do this anyway without him. So what happens there?
Ethan doesn't crack the code because in my world, Jon Voight didn't take a Bible with him.
Okay. He just didn't. He just knew. He looked at it and he went, held his head, and there was like a static flash and like video lines. And then some ghosts flew around him, and then he just didn't take it.
Yeah. I believe, as Jim Phelps successfully obtained the knock list and framed someone else, so you didn't mention Ethan Hunt, so I forgot.
No, fair enough. I didn't. But I was prepared to ask what of Ethan Hunt if you went beyond the point where his team was killed. But that's okay.
What gave me the idea for this is I was thinking, all right, what can I do? So I went on the CIA website and they do a virtual tour. And they've got statues of like different
Weird.
directors and things. And they've got like a statue room and an art gallery and all sorts. But you can't go in. It's just a virtual tour.
I mean, it definitely works better with that context, but I'm still not sure it's an idea.
Oh, it is. It really is an idea.
Well, it is an idea. It's mine.
I can assure you of that.
I definitely didn't hear yours at the time. Definitely. And I haven't listened to that episode back. So
Didn't do the edit.
didn't do the edit. And I think I was watching a fly just buzzing around my computer when you were talking. It was far more interesting.
Yeah, maybe it got in there subconsciously.
Yeah, I suppose so.
So best plans go in subconsciously.
Except for, I will reiterate, my guy wasn't really made of bronze,
No, he couldn't have been. He didn't have a copper disease.
nor a bronze ailment.
Or an unfortunate schmelting accident.
No.
Okay. What would you have done differently, Gaz?
My name is Jim Phelps. I'm a Kung Fu hippie, and my impossible mission, should I choose to accept it, is impossible. Or is it? Ethan and his ragtag crew have done the impossible part. Infiltrating the CIA's HQ was the impossible part. God! Have you seen how hard it is to get in there? But they did it, thereby making their mission successful as opposed to impossible. I don't know exactly where they're planning to hole up afterwards, but I know that Max's ticket's booked on the Channel. The Channel. The Channel. To make passage to France and make the trade of the knock list undersea. I also know that Ethan inexplicably trusts his makeshift hacker Luther with the details of the list and the impossible plan. He shouldn't have, as I have his prized collection of rare stickle bricks in my possession, and I'm not afraid to take a sledgehammer to the whole lot of them. He loves them so much that he's taken their name as his surname, for goodness sake. That's his weak point. He's a big lad and finds it quite easy to chloroform Ethan before putting him into a giant custom-made photo frame with the words "I stole the knock list" engraved into a little brass plate. I have quite literally framed him. Luther rendezvous with me and Claire on the delightfully monikered Channel, on which he hands over the disc of precious info and I give him his precious stickle bricks. I'm a man of my word, and that, my friend, is the real impossible mission. Or not, whatever.
A Kittridge line from the film sums this up. It's, everyone has pressure points, Bart. You find something that's personally important to someone and you squeeze. And for Luther, that's his priceless collection of stickle bricks.
Right, so you're basically blackmailing him to do what you want.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't had any blackmail plans before, have we? Right, that was done. So, come on, next.
We haven't had any blackmail plans featuring stickle bricks before, so it's a totally ingenious and unique scheme, which is worthy of praise, and unlike yours.
Your plan didn't have a modified windswept umbrella?
No, it didn't. It had a guy who could turn himself into a copper statue.
Yeah, so there, you've admitted in your own words. In your own words. Mine was bronze, totally different. Twist. Gaz.
Yes.
And it is fun to call you Gaz again after so
it's
many
a delight
moons of
hearing it.
calling you whatever you used to be called. Have you ever put a hammer to a stickle brick?
No, I don't think I did. Maybe a screwdriver, maybe some tweezers to get, like, little bits of hair out of it and that. But no, never a hammer.
That was the issue with the stickle brick, wasn't it? The build of a hair. I don't think a hammer would do much. Or maybe it would. Maybe it would bend those little things and you couldn't...
Yeah, it'd bend the prongs, wouldn't it? They wouldn't slot in together.
Because you did get bent prongs, didn't you?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to regale us of stories of you hammering stickle bricks for, like, out of spite to spite somebody. I'll show you what stickle bricks. Have you seen what a hammer does to a stickle brick? Bang, bang, bang.
If you've made a crude man or a square out of your stickle bricks and someone takes a hammer to them and they ruin your build, that's pretty upsetting already. You can rebuild, but...
The thing with stickle bricks, yeah, it's the rebuild value.
Yeah, I don't know.
You're going to enjoy it as much the second time as you did the first time.
It's not as satisfying as Lego, is it? If anything, it's quite fiddly. You try and put two stickle bricks together, they don't quite line up perfectly. And you're like, oh, fuck this.
Yeah, you can't get them in the middle, can you?
No.
That's annoying.
But you can do all four sides. Hang on. Is it four? No, you can do the four sides and the two other 6 sides on a stickle brick.
Well done for working out what a 3D shape is.
Thank you.
You've practiced that, haven't you?
Okay, well, if we're all happy, what would you have done differently, Adam?
The plan is going perfectly well for Phelps's team. Alexander Golitsyn has arrived at the ambassador's reception and has made his way down the basement and retrieved the fake knock list. However, instead of leaving through the basement elevator exit, he is deposited back into the hall, moments before a very special event is about to happen. The ambassador looks over to his manservant and signals him to begin. Oh, Ambassador, with the Rocher, you're really spoiling us. If God pooped like a rabbit, these nuggets of deliciousness would be his excrement. I'd sacrifice my own parents to Satan for another one of these if I hadn't already murdered them for my inheritance, says another. The whole shindig is enraptured by these special chocolates. What is the secret of their power? Why can't people resist? Jim Phelps watches through somebody else's spectacles and, after faking his own death and bumping off his team, he hatches his plan. A month or so later, a delivery van rolls up to Langley and passes through security with candy for the vending machines. The only thing those agents love more than destabilising a country in the name of capitalism or detaining people indefinitely without a shred of evidence is chocolate. As the van pulls up to the delivery entrance, the back doors swing open and half a dozen waiters waft into the building, holding large silver platters full to the brim with those delicious and mysterious chocolates. Even though the chocolates are normally magic enough, Phelps has added a sedative to seal the deal. As the waiters move throughout the building, the agents and staff are hooked. Phelps himself heads to the special computer room where William has stuck his head out to see what all the fuss is about. As Phelps sticks out the tray to the inquisitive fella, he smashes the tray upwards and takes out old Bill, jamming his foot in the door and grabbing the pass. As everyone in the building is too enamoured with the chocolates, or they're already asleep, Phelps is free to download the real knock list and escape to get the money from Max.
Oh, that's nice. I was just having a little reminisce there for a minute. It's just reminded me of the Joker plan in Dark Knight when using chocolate.
Did he use Ferrero Rocher, though?
Well, chocolate's chocolate, innit?
No. It's not the same as a bronze statue being moved into a bit of headquarters or somewhere.
Well, it wasn't copper, was it? You know what I mean?
So what if there's somebody working at CIA headquarters who's lactose intolerant or has a nut allergy?
They're impossible to resist.
The big guy is choking, like, why did I do it?
Just one more. Is he joking?
I want to argue this point, but he's so right. They are irresistible. And I'm not a big chocolate fan, but Christ, I like a Ferrero Rocher.
I work a guy who has lactose intolerant and he still eats chocolate and he just goes, I'm going to pay for this later, and just eats chocolate.
A guy who's allergic to nuts and his face is ballooned up and he's also shitting himself at the same time.
They're just so good.
The next day, this guy comes down to breakfast and we're like, you're right. And he's like, no, I've had a terrible night. I was up all night shitting.
I used to work with someone as well who was lactose intolerant, and she used to just get shitloads of stuff off the bakery, like cookies and that. And she'd be like, right, this is my EpiPen. Okay. So if I start ballooning up and getting a rash, just jam it into my thigh and inject it instantly. And I was like, "Are you being serious?"
Death by chocolate.
I know Ferrero Rocher are irresistible.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows that.
Mm-hmm.
But American eating habits are on another level. Everyone's got something. So there's going to be at least one person who doesn't eat that Rocher, I'm saying.
Yeah, but it's only one person, and he can't stop Jim Phelps. Jim Phelps is in there. He's going to get out.
That person is the only person that can stop Jim Phelps, coincidentally.
He just gets a big plate here and smashes him into it. Or as the guy runs in, going, "Ah!" like that, he throws a Ferrero Rocher into his gob and he accidentally eats it.
Well, if we're all happy, what would you have done differently, Super Dude? After going to all the effort to fake my own death and frame Ethan Hunt for the deaths of his IMF team, I'm far from happy to discover the knock list we filched was a fake. Once I get wind that Hunt is sniffing around Max, it becomes clear to me that he's the man for the job of stealing the real disc from Langley. Sending in Claire is a risk, but if she can get my main man Krieger in the mix, it'll be worth it. The only problem I can foresee is that Krieger is a fucking dumbass. I mean really stupid. Whereas Hunt is a genuine genius. Oh, fuck me. Don't get me started on how stupid Krieger is. Seriously, Jesus, he's like a dog or something. Anyway, there's time to prepare, so we spend an intensive couple of days getting Krieger up to speed with some of the techniques Hunt may employ to fool him into failing to obtain the knock list. First, I show Krieger the old cup and ball trick. "Follow the ball, boy," I say. "Where's the ball?" And after fooling him a few times, I get him to try and fool me. When the cups stop moving, I stand up and kick him in the face, then knock over all 3 of the cups, revealing the ball that would normally be hidden with sleight of hand. Next, I show Krieger the false cut card trick, and after astonishing him for a while, I get him to try it on me. He's wary this time, but obliges, and when the trick is complete, I hit him really hard right in the ear with a big sock full of onions and take the whole deck off him. Now, Krieger knows what needs to be done. And when we're sipping sangrias after a successful sale of the knock list, he recalls the tale to me of how Hunt tried to trick him with 2 floppy disks, either of which could be the real knock list. Krieger was fooled, but instead of tucking away his tail and skulking off, he brutally stabbed Ethan to death, while Claire was busy pegging Luther, and Krieger took both discs. Max was a little irritated when we showed up with a multiple choice, but she was pleased when she looked out and verified the legitimate disc on the first try. So there you go. Simply teach Krieger, what do you do when there's 2 discs? You don't know which one's the real one, take them both. That's it. That's all you gotta do.
Poor old Ving Rhames getting anally penetrated again.
Well, I thought it was a reference to Pulp Fiction that he would enjoy.
He'd raise an eyebrow, certainly.
If it was Emmanuelle Beart doing it, I think I'd be fine with it. I'd be like, okay, she's French. This is fine.
It's what they do on the continent.
It's called a continental breakfast.
So basically, using violence is your solution here, isn't it?
No, my solution is teaching Krieger that when there's 2 choices of a disc and he's not sure which one's the real one, take them both.
Use violence.
Don't be an idiot. Stabbing Ethan to death is just a byproduct of that.
Okay. No, I'm just checking. Just make sure it's original.
Some plum-gummingly diabolical schemes there, but who will get the votes? First, we had Ben's dreaded Rear Admiral's stolen statue plan. Then we had Gaz's Lax Luther Sticklebrick ransom. Give me back my Sticklebricks! Then we had Adam's ambassadorial chloroform confections. And finally, we had my eager beaver Krieger stab and seizure from the double dealer. Let's hear first from Adam, who got your vote this week.
Well, I did think Ben's plan was excellent. However, I was going to vote for him, but then I realised if I did vote for him, I'd kind of vote for myself, so I'd sort of be breaking the rules. So I ended up going for the other plan I thought was really inventive, which was Gaz.
Very nice. Well, as is tradition, whoever gets the vote, we like to hear from them next. So, Gaz, who got your vote?
Well, as is the way of these things, when the first person votes for someone, the second person says, I voted for me. Ha ha ha. I didn't really. I voted for Adam.
Forgot your own saucy baby rule there, because you are one. All right, so mutual back patting there, but what about Ben? Who got your vote?
Simply for the delicious recollection, simply for allowing me to remember stickle bricks, I vote for Gaz.
Well, it's a good start to season 1 for the former best, because stickle bricks aside, finding a person's pressure point and squeezing is a lesson to be learned from this movie. So I have also voted for Gaz, and it's a clean sweep for Gaz.
I should say it's season 6, though. You said season 1 just then. Good start to season 1.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, you're going senile, you old bastard.
Are you sure?
You'll laugh when you hear it in the edit. You'll laugh like a drain.
Well, it's a good start to season 1.
It's a good start to season 1. Start to season 1.
Gaz, how has that affected the season 6 leaderboard?
Big changes on the leaderboard. We've had some movement from everybody being on 0 to some of us being on some points. So in first place with 3 points is Gaz.
Woo!
Well done.
Oh yeah. In second place with 1 point is Adam, and bringing up the joint rear, pegging at the rear, is Super Dude and Ben.
Just like to say, I've been robbed again. Absolutely robbed.
Bringing up the rear. 2 big fat zeros.
I should have said joint pegging in the rear, at the rear. Ah, got to finesse that joke. Hopefully you'll both be on 0 points next week too, and then I can just tweak that little joke a little bit. I'll workshop it.
I mean, it's likely you and your separate WhatsApp group and you're voting for the messages.
He's on to us.
I could hear you texting in the middle of the vote then.
The clacking of the keys on our phones. Clickety-clack, clickety-clack.
You're using your phone, but you're using a separate keyboard at the side just to make the noise because you like it. It's not connected to anything.
Well, next week, Ben will be hosting for the first time this season. What convoluted plot will you be asking us to dumb down for you?
Well, I had a little taster of Emilio Estevez this week and I liked what I saw. So I'm going to make us watch National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon.
Oh? And that wraps up this episode like the red and green halves of a gum grenade. Thank you for listening. And if you don't want us to betray you, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell, and leave us a review on the very platform on which you're currently listening. You can follow us on social mediums at DiabolicalPod. Next week, we'll be competing to improve on the diabolical plot of whoever the fuck is the baddie in National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon. Until then, remember, hasta lasagna, don't get any anya. Bum, 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 bum.
Impossible mission, yes, this is very hard. Very hard. If not totally impossible. Perhaps. But not really. Hello, this is Gaz.
Maybe say that again when you're not doing your nose, because that will really...
I don't do second takes. Thank you very much.
It was the last big role for Emilio Estevez.
He died shortly thereafter in an elevator shaft.
Exactly, yeah.
Scene: a dimly lit warehouse complete with blueprints, surveillance photos. Fuck me, I'm going again.
Try to say blueprints. Blueprints. Shall I say that again or nah?
Yeah, no, fuck it.